Thank you, John. I'm sure we can all agree the work that CIDG is doing is both world-leading and exceptionally exciting, and hopefully for all of you makes a profound difference on your family tree going forward and, of course, right now. Now, we're very fortunate tonight to have some families who have accepted to share their stories with all of you. The first family I'd like to introduce you to are Simon and Nerily. I think Simon is coming up to talk tonight. The Curran family to talk about their story of resuscitation with their little girl Jasmine. Please come on up.
Thank you very much. To be honest with you, if 6 months ago someone had said, would you like to come along to the CIDG conference, I probably wouldn't have made it, only because it's got nothing to do with me and my lifestyle, anything that was relevant to my family. Now I can think of nothing more important because of what's happened to us over the last 6 months. And John Skinner, Dr. John Skinner, for me, does wear a cape. He is a superhero, for reasons I'll go on to explain. So for those comments to have some context rather than sounding particularly peculiar, I'll just tell you a little bit about our family story, which will, I'm not sure which bit will be it. We're the Currans. So we're a very, very normal family. We have 3 little girls. Beau is 8, is the teacher's pet, takes an apple to school each day for the teacher. Jasmine is 6, is somewhere on their way of creating a DJ career. And Cleo is 3, who steals the apples and the records and has sort of a side business. And that's kind of the way our family works. And for a family on Christmas morning with 3 girls under 9, it's fairly chaotic. And after the morning ritual of opening Doc McStuffins and Dora toys and the latest incarnation of Barbie's career, we as a family head north. And we usually head to Russell, where we begin our summer vacation. And this year for us was like they always are. We swam with dolphins, we went sand duning, we went up to the top of the North Island and had an incredible time doing all those things that you always hope you do as a family, spending really quality time. And if there are a couple of photos that summarise our family during a Christmas vacation, this is one of them. Long walks, milkshakes, spending time catching up. And this is another. This is in a very remote bay in the Bay of Islands. And by remote, I mean there were no more than 30 people scattered amongst boats just outside of Rafidi on the 6th of January. What's also unusual for me about this photo is it was taken 5 seconds before an event that changed the course of our lives forever. Because the next photo we have was taken 6 hours later in the intensive care unit at Starship, where our daughter was fighting for her life, surrounded with banks of machinery and loud noises, and people talking in codes that meant nothing to my wife or I, who had come from Whangarei Hospital, and previous to that had come from a boat just outside the Bay of Islands. And we were introduced by Jackie and Dr. Skinner to 4 initials that have changed our life forever, which is CPVT. A long name that I still can't remember, but what I do know is that it was described to us as being very rare and very nasty. And very nasty because it's undiagnosable until an event. And very nasty because most often it's found on autopsy tables. Remarkably for us, it was found in Jasmine because when she walked down off the back of that boat, she slipped and fell half a metre backwards with a life jacket into the water. And I had a feeling something was wrong, dived into the water and passed her up to my father-in-law who's on the boat. And by the time I'd got up, I expected Jasmine to be annoyed at all the drama, but she wasn't. She was quickly turning blue. And as a parent, had that horrible moment of realising I didn't know how to do, or my wife didn't know how to do CPR, but our daughter was dying. And we called to the surrounding boats, and I still have a very clear picture of everyone pointing back saying, sorry, we're no doctors. Remarkably, on the beach that day was a nurse who is an emergency-trained CPR practitioner who swam 30 metres to our boat and for 45 minutes performed CPR. Made even more amazing that on the other side of the bay where we were moored, it was a fire station. And the fire station heard all the emotion going on and sent 2 boys down with a defibrillator, which got onto our boat within 7 minutes. So for a period of 45 minutes, we were in the hands of complete strangers, and our hearts were hopefully with them. A helicopter then arrived, and amazingly, the tide was out far enough that the emergency helicopter could arrive. The nurse who had performed 45 minutes with a defibrillator could stop, and our baby was taken off to Whangarei Hospital and then taken on to Starship. And there we met people in circumstances that the parents in the room that have been through something similar will relate to, and those that in the room that this is somewhat to do with your day job, you will have no understanding of the immense and immeasurable contribution you make to families like ours. Wherever a night we would read Jasmine's story. Her skin was cold like leather. There was no way of knowing whether she was going to make it, and go to sleep in Starship with nights that felt like they went for an eternity. And came back the next day to be told that we still don't know. And Jasmine spent 6 days on life support. When they tried to wake her up, they couldn't. So then they waited longer. And the day that they went to resuscitate her again, they explained that they did a CAT scan on Jazzy and that she had permanent brain damage. The back of her head was permanently damaged, and there was inflammation throughout her brain. And they explained to us they needed to tell us that because when they woke her up, they didn't know what they were going to find. That's a long 45-minute wait then as you wait. And a little girl who feels the size of a small mouse waiting. Fortunately for us, our luck continued. And it's only because of the remarkable luck we'd had earlier that day, 6 days ago, that Jasmine slowly started to wake up. And as she slowly started to wake up, she became more and more coherent. And in the days that then ensued, she had more of her speech back, and she had more of her understanding of who we were and who the people were around us. And she grew from strength to strength to strength to strength. She started eating again, and shortly after that, she underwent some surgery and now has a defibrillator the size of this device tucked under her abdominal muscle on her right-hand side. She thinks it's her power pack. And she's a Spider-Man fan, so for her it's just part of the adventure that, much to the envy of her friends, she has these superpowers given to her by the superhero Dr. John Skinner. Because a third of the cases are hereditary, we've now had all of our family screened, and we are undergoing more genetic testing to understand whether it affects our other 2 children and my wife and I. But we have a fortunate story, because our family continues now, albeit under different circumstances. We have a youngest child that now wants to be a doctor, and we have a middle-aged 6-year-old who now is, like all of us, hoping that the Italian mice that they're doing the testing on go on to be superheroes too, so that her condition can be saved. And if there were 4 initials that meant nothing to us before the event, now they are the most 4 important initials in our world, CPVT. And from that, doing some work with Dr. Skinner and Jackie and the literature we've read, we've learnt some incredible things. That sudden cardiac arrest, and the people in this room know far about that than us, but that sudden cardiac arrest, one of the leading rates of mortality in the industrialised world, that the average success rate after an event is 8%, and yet if people can get access to CPR and defibrillators, that can get to 75%. And for me, I'm not sure what's more amazing, that statistic or the fact that not enough people know about that statistic. And if Coca-Cola can have an ambition about putting a Coke in arm's length of people around the world, why we don't have that for defibrillators in New Zealand, a country with social welfare like we've got, with literacy like we've got, is simply incredible. We were told that 80% of American schools now have defibrillators in their schools. In New Zealand, we don't have a statistic because we don't know what it is. But we do know that in most high schools outside of major centres, they don't, and most primary schools don't, including the one that our daughter goes to. And when we asked the teachers why that was, they explained that cardiac arrests don't happen to young children, which is quite hard to hear when you're the father of a patient that has now a defibrillator in their stomach because of what happened. So we're planning to do everything we can to help raise the profile of it. And our hope would be that in a place like New Zealand, we don't rely on luck to be able to have more survival rates, and that we don't rely on tragic shocks to family to help people understand it. So to Dr. Skinner, to Jackie in the room, and to people like yourselves, that if you're anywhere related to this as a practitioner, thank you for the lives that you'll go on to continue to save. Cheers.